The intelligent disruption of the global food chain explores the convergence of technologies that are coming together to unlock new possibilities within the global food and agriculture system. Technological disruption implies systems change rather than simple product substitution. As with any industry transformation, there are structural feedback loops inherent in the industry that must be overcome. They hold back the new in favor of the old and keeps the system working in relative stability. Once certain tipping points have been reached, however, such loops begin to favor the new over the old. The use of emerging technologies and the support of these changes are key to helping to feed the world. The theory of disruptive innovation, introduced in 1995 by Clayton Christensen, has proved to be a powerful way of thinking about innovation-driven growth. Many researchers, writers, and consultants use disruptive innovation to describe any situation in which an industry is shaken up and previously successful incumbents stumble, but that's too broad a usage. Disruptive innovations are made possible because they get started in two types of markets that incumbents overlook. Low-end footholds exist because incumbents typically try to provide their most profitable and demanding customers with ever-improving products and services, and they pay less attention to less demanding customers. In fact, incumbents' offerings often overshoot the performance requirements of the latter. This opens the door to a disruptor focused at first on providing these low-end customers with a good enough product. In the case of new market footholds, disruptors create a market where none existed. Disruptors start by appealing to low-end and unserved customers and then migrate to the mainstream market. Disruptive innovations don't catch on with the mainstream customers until quality catches up to their standards. Disruption is a process. Because disruption can take time, incumbents frequently overlook disruptors. Disruptors often build business models that are very different from those of incumbents. It is rare that a technology or product is inherently sustaining or disruptive. And when new technology is developed, disruption theory does not dictate what managers should do. Instead, it helps them make a strategic choice between taking a sustaining path and taking a disruptive one. Most every innovation, disruptive or not, begins life as a small-scale experiment. Disruptors tend to focus on getting the business model rather than merely the product just right. When they succeed, their movement from the fringe, the low end of the market or new market, to the mainstream erodes first the incumbent's market share and then their profitability. This process can take time, and incumbents can get quite creative in the defense of their established franchises. For example, more than 50 years after the first discount department store was open, mainstream retail companies still operate their traditional department store formats. Complete substitution, if it comes at all, may take decades, because the incremental profit from staying with the old model for one more year appears to be better than proposals to write off the assets in one stroke. The fact that disruption can take time helps to explain why incumbents frequently overlook disruptors. For example, when Netflix launched in 1997, its initial service wasn't appealing to most of Blockbuster's customers, who rented movies, typically new releases, on impulse. Netflix had an exclusively online interface and a large inventory of movies, but delivery through the US mail meant selections took several days to arrive. The service appealed to only a few customer groups: movie buffs who didn't care about new releases, and early adopters of DVD players and online shoppers. If Netflix had not eventually begun to serve a broader segment of the market, Blockbuster's decision to ignore this competitor would not have been such a strategic blunder. The two companies filled very different needs for their very different customers. As new technologies allowed Netflix to shift to streaming video over the internet, the company did eventually become appealing to Blockbuster's core customers, offering a wider selection of content with all-you-can-watch, on-demand, low price, high quality, highly convenient approach, and it got there via a classically disruptive path. If Netflix, like Uber, had begun by launching a service targeted at a large competitor's core market, Blockbuster's response would very likely have been a vigorous and perhaps successful counterattack. But failing to respond effectively to the trajectory that Netflix was on led Blockbuster to collapse. 100 or 50 or even 20 years ago, disruption meant coming up with a product or service people needed but didn't have yet. then finding a way to produce it with higher quality and lower cost than your competitors. This entailed hiring hundreds or thousands of employees, having a large physical space to put them in, and waiting years or even decades for hard work to pay off and products to come to fruition. We live in incredible times. News travels the globe in an instant. Movies, music, games, communication, and knowledge are ever available on always connected devices. From biotechnology to artificial intelligence, powerful technologies that were once available to huge organizations and governments are becoming more accessible and affordable thanks to digitization. Peter Diamandis and Stephen Kotler, in their bold book, Bold, describe the 6 Ds to exponential growth. The 6 Ds are a chain reaction of technological progression, a roadmap of rapid development that always leads to enormous upheaval and opportunity. Digitization. Once something becomes digitized, it can be replicated and sold for close to zero cost. Disruptive growth. That's doubling in growth where it seems small at first while the technology is in its infancy. And then you have disruptive growth. That's a doubling in growth of a small technology results in a massive disruptive growth. As a result of 30 rounds of doubling, a technology will see about a billion-fold growth. This is disruptive. Think about the massive growth rate of megapixels in cameras or processor speed in computers. Dematerialization. This is the process by which technologies and services move from costing money to becoming available for free. For example, think of all the apps on your phone that you used to have to pay a lot of money for. GPS, high-resolution camera, high-resolution video and voice teleconferencing, weather apps, news, books, online, podcasts, etc. A study was done recently that showed that a typical smartphone today comes with free technology that would have cost more than $1 million in the 1980s. Demonetization. Once the technology has become digitized, the cost for that technology drops significantly. A great example is digital photography, which was expensive and marginal quality 20 years ago. This is now free and super high resolution on your smartphone. Another example would be cloud-based server access and storage capacity. Both were significant costs for startups. Now it's hardly even a thought. And last is democratization. As a result of digitizing and demonetizing, the products empowered by this technology become available for everyone on the planet. There are 3 billion people connected via the internet today, and this may grow to most of the people on the planet by 2025. Free Wi-Fi is everywhere. We used to have to pay $1 a minute. Food disruption is driven by the convergence of massively increased performance and reduced cost in the areas of advanced computing, processing power, data storage, and synthetic biology, genome sequencing, and editing. Our understanding of protein molecules has exploded, and we now have precision control over cells. This means that we can harness them as many molecular factories to produce or directly produce any molecule we desire, allowing us to bypass the inefficient production systems we have lived with for so long. We can design food from the molecule up, rather than breaking down and reconstituting bulk food products as we currently do in food processing, often through the use of heat and chemicals, which can significantly reduce the nutritional quality of food. The technology allows us for mass iteration of products. The Impossible Burger is only in its very early iterations. Expect many more improvements over time, and for tailoring products for specific markets and end users. We can rapidly iterate those designs for constant improvement as well as customization. Milk, for example, is 90% water. If we can understand and recreate the 10% of what makes the milk special, we will be able to readily replicate or mimic milk without the need for cows. And that's just the first version, with mass iterations possible and already underway from here. And this is software-led food design. Digital platforms, urban agriculture, food as a service, vertical farming, DNA-based diets, lab-grown meat. Underlying these rapid changes are macro forces that influence the way the world produces, distributes, buys, sells, and consumes food. Global population growth and the shift from rural to urban life will increase demands for future food stocks and shorter, more efficient supply chains. Food production will continue to be vulnerable to the impacts of rising global temperatures, with water stress and drought becoming more common, Advances in technology and open access to capital will fuel an explosion of business model innovation. New competitors will redefine customers' expectations, offering uniquely different value propositions, and rapidly disrupt global competitive landscapes. This is an exciting time for consumers and those responsible for bringing food to us. The rise of technology and artificial intelligence, as well as new scientific discoveries and innovation, offers solutions to the food scarcity challenge. The promise of new levels of food manufacturing efficiencies to counter declining production forecasts provide hope for the future of food production. In addition, tremendous investment in new retail commercial models will improve the ways consumers can personalize what and how we eat food. Software-led food design means that we can harness precision biology and bring it together with the age-old practice of fermentation in a process called precision fermentation. PF allows us to harness microbes, yeast, bacteria, as many molecular factories to produce molecules at high speed and volume. We select a microorganism and program it to produce our desired output, usually a protein, using plant-based inputs, but any biomatter can be used to the efficiency of the system will be determined in part by the proportion of carbohydrates to the inputs. The resulting protein can be mixed with other ingredients to create a suitable end product using a fraction of the resources of the conventional alternative, and thus at a fraction of the cost. Incumbents in the industry have already become engaged in PF. For those that trade in ingredients for processed foods, engaging with these new options is clearly an imperative. Expect business-to-business ingredient-led disruption. The new system will be decentralized, which will mean that there will be savings on transport costs too. At present, the cost barriers to entry are quite high, but we are already seeing these falling and new smaller fermentation systems coming to market, which may be operated under licensing agreements. There has always been repurposing of hardware originally developed for the bioethanol industry. Less well-off nations should also be able to become involved. Already we see interest and research in this area in both China and India. One of the big questions is around the nutritional quality of these new proteins. At present, the incentives of the food system are such that nutrition is well down on the list of factors that influence whether food is brought to market, after taste, texture, convenience, and cost. We must, though, take into account that plant protein is not necessarily nutritionally equivalent to animal protein. We made that mistake with fats, moving rapidly away from saturated animal fats rich in omega-3 to polyunsaturated, highly processed vegetable fats with appreciable adverse population health consequences. There are many technologies emerging within the industry. Innovative 3D printing techniques are being used to create sustainable, personalized nutritional food products. A computer automated printer produces foods layer by layer with pureed or melted ingredients such as cheese, chocolate, or even meat. 3D printers use different types of powdered or liquid food material to bring extra nutritional value to our plates and additional income to companies. 3D food printers allow for personalized, precise, reproducible nutrition containing the correct percentage of nutrients required for a particular gender, lifestyle, or medical condition. One specialized form of the 3D printer currently in an experimental phase is the bioprinter. This version prints living cells, not all of which are used to make food, and has the potential to eliminate hunger in areas of the world that needs access to fresh foods. The nutritional content of purees can be controlled. Thereby, 3D printing can provide us with healthier food options, which can also be personalized to individual nutritional needs in fun and inventive ways. Furthermore, 3D printing is a comparatively affordable technique for producing customized food products compared to current methods like hand making or decorating. From a sustainability perspective, this process can also promote the use of meat alternatives such as algae, fungi, seaweed, insects, by transforming them into appealing and flavorful food to help overcome aversion to culturally unfamiliar ingredients, such as converting powdered ingredients into more appetizing forms and textures. However, 3D printing of food is at an early stage of development, and work is still needed to improve the composition of purees and printing conditions needed to produce the most appetizing tastes and textures. Food robotics refers to the machines used in the food and beverage industry to perform various complex activities such as picking, packing, and palletizing. The various technological advancements across numerous sectors have brought fictional robots to reality. Increase in demand for enhanced productivity augments the development of robots to automate the tasks, resulting in robots being an integral part of various industries. Already applied today, food robotics improve quality, increase output, and reduce expenses, especially in food and liquid processing. Though safety regulations distinguish food robotics from other automation, more companies employ robotics to advance food product consistency and overall efficiency. This will mean better tasting and healthier food for the consumer, while businesses will be enabled to apply resources in high quality and sustainable ingredients. In a recent trip to San Francisco, I saw a coffee shop entirely automated and run by robots. The need and the demand for therapeutic and lifestyle diets, nutritional value, as well as food preferences vary widely between consumers. As a result, the formation of personalized nutrition or personalized meals has already made its mark on the food industry. However, technology puts a clever twist to it as it allows us to analyze nutritional information, suggest meals, and gives advice on what foodstuffs to purchase or order. Personalized nutrition is the next big growth opportunity for companies in the industry, as consumers increasingly turn to individually tailored diets. However, the growing amount and complexity of data generated by fully automated, high-throughput data recording and phenotyping platforms, including digital images, sensor and sound data, and information obtained from real-time, non-invasive computer vision, pose challenges to the successful use of personalized nutrition. The fields of machine learning and data mining are expected to be instrumental in helping to meet these challenges. Global food waste is a far-reaching problem with tremendous financial, ethical, and environmental cost. The history of food waste is closely linked to globalization. In an ever more networked world, supply chains get longer, and everything is available everywhere. Indian mangoes in Germany and American apples in Indonesia, the whole year round. In that often long journey from farm to table, food is lost or wasted at every stage. And fresh foods such as fruits, vegetables, dairy, and meat are particularly vulnerable. As food production struggles to keep up with the rapidly growing global population, food waste is predicted to grow if we don't do something about it. Some of the benefits of the application of Internet of Things technologies in the food industry, including reduced maintenance cost, higher productivity, the transparent tracking of the supply chain, as well as predictive maintenance. One application area for IoT in the food industry approaching at a fast pace is the smart kitchen. To fully achieve this milestone, devices and equipment with built-in sensors are grouped into one network of data that continuously exchanges information. Consumers are more knowledgeable and engaged, demanding higher standards in food safety. The monitoring of food from field to fork using IoT and blockchain technologies are two of the potential answers to this problem. However, balancing food safety standards while keeping up with growing demand is challenging too. As the ongoing growth in the organic and natural food markets eliminated artificial preservatives, colors, and dyes from food products, automation can support companies in maintaining these safety standards. As more and more customers shift to online ordering and expect faster deliveries, the last mile delivery has become quite mainstream these days. We know that the logistics industry already profits from innovations in delivery through application areas like last mile delivery and line haul transportation. In the food industry, however, delivery companies start to put a focus on artificial intelligence solutions paired with automation strategies, such as automated guided vehicles, AGVs, which are recognized as the ground equivalent to drones. With margin pressure mounting on commoditized categories, digital and physical transformation will be essential to the food marketplace. Grocers need to create platforms that enable multi-sided networks, supplier collaboration, and integrated services to capture revenue outside traditional categories of foods. These platforms will need to prototype and deliver new technology, business processes, and ultimately customer experiences in fast, not weeks, not months. Successful companies will start every strategic discussion with the customer journey and work backwards to design the required changes. They will create differentiated experiences by tirelessly removing customer pain in both physical and digital environments with a combination of services and new in-store experiences. The definition of convenience is no longer location-based. Convenience now demands an ecosystem of products, technologies, and services that enable easy interactions. Partners will add, accelerate, and support new customer-facing and back-end capabilities. Learning how to identify and stand these relationships up quickly will be a highly valuable competency. To free up cash to invest, fend off unwelcome acquisitions, and improve asset leverage, traditional grocers need to modernize operations from supply chain to field operations to IT. This is no easy task while also reinventing customer value propositions and business model innovation. Regardless, efforts will include automation, spend optimization, inventory rationalization, and entire new technology and supplier delivery models. The future of food is fast, fresh, and requires a new set of answers for a new set of questions. A battle for the food marketplace is occurring, with consumers as the ultimate winners. Changes in consumer desires are coming fast, requiring nimble companies and platforms to support innovation. And there will be seismic changes in the food production system. It will look very little like it does today. The good news is the food industry is already rising to these challenges. We have some road to travel and a host of innovations to deliver along the way. But in the end, consumers will benefit. A steady, reliable, varied food supply is well within our reach, aided by technologies of all sorts, within the decades to come. Thank you.